All right, you guys. Welcome back to another episode of The Common Theory. And as always, I'm here with my man Puzzle. Puzzle, how are you doing today, my bro?
Oh, not too shabby. Just keeping up. How are you doing?
Man, I can't really complain. It's been a it's been a long couple weeks here, and I'm very excited to be back with you here doing what we love to do, just talking about some nice magic decks and actually bringing a nice up and coming episode per se.
Absolutely. It's
So
been a bit, but we're back. Apologies for the delays.
yes, definitely. So let me hit you guys with the intro as always, and we're gonna be continuing with the new intro thing that we have going on for you guys, and it's going to be kind of just our overview of what we have going on. And yeah, let me hit you with that. So let's just start with we're gonna be going over four different decks today for you guys. And we both find these to be decks that we believe are up and coming and deserve a place in the meta. So they may or may not be there yet, or they may be there, but definitely they need to start seeing more play. These decks we believe are good, plain and simple. These decks are good. They need to see more play, and the end. That's how we are, right? Straight to the point, the nitty gritty. And we're here to tell you why these decks and why we find them to be good. So let's just do the deed and let's start with which decks we're going to be talking about today. Our first deck is going to be Kadira. Yes, we are making some bunnies in the house today. And then our second deck is going to be Togo and Falthus. Yes, we have another familiar deck in the house for you guys today. In our third deck, oh, I hope you guys are wearing a seatbelt if you're driving. Amber and Feywild Visitor. Yes, that is a very spicy one. Very spicy one. And then last but not least, this one's not pretty new, you guys. Nah, this one's great. We have Teshar. Teshar deserves a place in this meta, and we are going to tell you why. Definitively, we are going to be like, this is bad. Sorry, good. This is good. And this is why we're going to say. And we're going to go from there, you guys. So, my man, Puzzle, always my bro. Hope you've been well. I know it's been a little bit with you. How you been, my bro? Been alright?
Not too shabby. Just trying to finish up a couple half semester classes. Getting those done. Almost done with those, and then it'll be hopefully smooth sailing after midterms this week and next. So.
Bro, I'm glad to hear that you're getting everything handled. Like weather here for me in Florida has still not been too easy. Like we'll get rain for like 3 straight days, and then it's just like the driest and worst heat. And yeah, other people are telling me they're in the 50s, and we're still like at 89 to 97, and I'm like, yeah,
Really?
Florida life.
No, our temperature just dropped recently, and it's been like 40s and 50s now.
Yeah,
So
see,
getting used
exactly.
to it again.
Yep, exactly. So, yeah, we don't have that out here in Florida. So, well, at least where I'm at in Florida. Let me say that correctly. But with all that said, I think you of all people should spin the wheel and start us off with some Kadira.
Sure. So, as Chris is alluding to, this is a deck that I built a long time ago for a video on my channel where I was doing a series where I just spin a wheel for a color and an archetype, and I got Selesnya aggro. So I built this deck, and it was alright when I played it, but ever since then, Reva Madi has been picking this deck up recently and improving on it. As you can see, this list we're looking at has been last updated, what, 3 days ago. So still actively working on the deck, and I think it has improved a significant margin from my very rough build of it. Alright, so first up we have Kadira, Color of the Small. This is a commander that is looking to punch people with our 3 mana 3/3 trampling commander, and when she deals damage, she will make a 1/1 white rabbit token for each token we control. So we're going to exponentially increase our token army. So obviously, we have to go and make a couple tokens beforehand, so we're going to be heavily relying on not only creature tokens, but things like treasures and foods that will stay around after board wipes if we have to rebuild. And we're looking to protect our commander and just get in for some damage. Nice, quick, and easy. Maybe pump all of our tokens. Notably, we're also on 31 lands, and we have a very, very low mana curve for this deck. And if we look at our average CMCs, we have 1.96 without lands, which is pretty stinking low, especially for a green deck. So,
Yeah.
it's very fun, very fast, but a little bit glass cannon. We are extremely, extremely reliant on our commander.
Well, so I want to put out there, right? Like, obviously we're talking about this deck, right? Because we think it's good. And yes, it's a little bit glass cannony per se. But I have to say, man, like, we like this deck, of course. And one thing that I think is very notable about this deck is that we have cards like Cliffside Lookout, Seagate Banneret, Ambush Paratrooper, Steadfast Unicorn. I mean, the list goes on, right? And I find this style of deck to be very beneficial because we're creating these rabbits, right? And these rabbits just being 1/1s are pretty. I'm gonna say it as horrible as possible. Blah, right? Like they're not very impressive, but with these other cards and the synergy potential that this deck is now producing really pushes these rabbits over the top. And honestly, even without our commander, we have, just like you said, right? All of these creatures, tokens. I mean, we have the Soul Sisters, right? We have Elvish Mystic. We have the squad, right? The whole squad of Finhorn, Elvish, Llanowar. So we can actually pump the team to make them threatening. What do you think about that? Like, I find this to be a pretty good white weenie deck, right? Am I crazy with this thought? Like, it gives that vibe of old school white weenie.
I mean, yeah. Uh, I think the pumps are kind of necessary for this deck to really close out the game in an efficient amount of time. Exponential token generation is obviously very strong, but sometimes it's actually hard to break through with the damage, especially if you lose access to your commander during a turn, like before you get to deal combat damage, and you're not able to cast it that turn. That's 2 turns that you just lost of swinging with your main form of token generation. So that's rough. One card that I actually really like for Kadira that I'm not seeing in this list is the green Echo spell, Echoing Strength, I think it's called.
Echoing Courage.
Or Echoing Courage, there we go. Echoing Strength might be the white one. But I think it just gives +2/+2 to a creature and all creatures with the same name. So
yep, exactly.
All of your, and that's like 2 mana instant speed, which is much more efficient than these repeatable effects. Although obviously it's one-time use. Some things like that are maybe something I would lean a bit more into. And yeah, you really have to protect Kadira in this deck. It kind of is a protect the queen deck, even though it's obviously very aggressively oriented, and we're looking to close out the game very quickly and just have an overwhelming board presence.
Yep.
It,
Well, I think Ravamani has been doing a good job playing it here in the current meta, and I think that's notable. So for you guys, if you guys haven't heard yet, or we haven't explained too well to you guys, we're really going to be talking about the player base and like who these players are and our experiences even witnessing these decks during the play patterns and stuff like that. And we have recently seen Ravamani specifically play this deck. And it has been quite impressive during the play. Whether they win or lose is somewhat irrelevant to us because during these games, certain things could go one way or another, or, you still have the politics, that are always within, our format as a whole. But that doesn't mean the deck doesn't impress us, right? I mean, you do agree with that, right, my man?
yeah, I think that's kind of an interesting topic to touch on real quick. It's just, win rates are everything, but like win rates aren't everything sometimes, Obviously, actually winning games is important. Um, that's especially true in tournament play, where, you know, the points are the points. But
Yep.
especially in open play situations, I think more than
Mm.
anything, not necessarily, obviously, you still want to win games, but you can kind of gauge the strength levels of decks just by playing against them. And even if they don't win because of whatever situation, blah, 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 you can still get a feel for, like, how good your deck is and what its strengths and weaknesses are.
Yep. Exactly, exactly. I mean, especially with a deck like this, with like so many keywords and such inherently powerful cards, right? Like we both could obviously agree on that. With like cards like Standard Bearer, Thraben Inspector, Suture Priest. Like, you can't say that these are bad cards. It's like none of us can. And we all can agree that like in the correct deck, these are what you should or are supposed to be playing to an extent, right?
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
th- this is one reason why we're even discussing this deck because it has impressed at least one of us. So we're not going to go through all those logistics, who it was, and all those things, you guys. But definitely, we're going to be talking about like that's why these decks are here, and that's why you know they're here. What else do we need to say? So, but I mean, Puzzle, my man, what else you got for us about this deck?
Yeah. I mean, this deck, interestingly enough, is a green deck that's not on that much ramp because we are an aggro deck, so I think that's pretty fun to take note of. Like I mentioned, really low mana curve, and we're just trying to pump out tokens and punch people. But I think the game plan's pretty simple. I think that covers most of what I have to touch on for this deck. You got anything else to add?
Not really, man. Like I've seen it play. I like it. I mean, I kind of touch on a few of the notable cards, and I'm definitely wishing Ravamati good luck and hey, keep playing the deck and yeah, I can't wait to see your results.
Absolutely. But with that, you want to go ahead and take us away to our next deck?
Yes. So this one is a bit near to my heart. So this is a deck that I've been developing with a couple people here recently. Um, this is Togo and Falthus. Yes, I did say a different familiar than Ketis. I did go there. I
We've seen Ezreal and Kelith. We've seen most of them, except for the green one.
uh, yes, you're right. You're right. You're right. I'm gonna ignore a couple of those, but yeah, the green one. I just feel bad for the green one
It's so
sometimes,
bad.
but yeah, yeah. We can't say that though, man. We
I
can't say
can't.
those things.
The green
Oh, okay.
familiar. If you guys could break the green familiar, please. show me because wow,
Oh
that card
no.
is so
All
bad.
right, we went there. All right, the next sanctuary event's gonna have mono green familiar. We don't even need its name. It's
No
just called
partner.
gonna be called mono green familiar. But yes. So this was an experiment I did with quite a few people. And you know, I something I do have to like throw out there is that a lot of these decks that, I present to all you guys and I even talk about and discuss with, you know, quite a few people are built within a group. So 99 point, in fact, actually at this point, none of the decks I build on my own. And this is another project of a group of people. And I think we really have been working hard. So, like, I'm just going to shout out a couple names, just right way out there, just talk about some of the people that assisted with the building of this deck. And, you know, big shout outs to Ankylosaur, David, big shout outs to Lotad, Yami, and I mean, we have so many kunks. Like there is a lot of people, and Clay. Like there is a lot of people that have been assisting with this build and other builds similar to this one that I've been working on. And I really want to touch upon that this is a deck that a lot of us work on together and it'll show through results. And I think that's a big deal with a lot of the decks that we're touching upon today. And that'll demonstrate throughout like the conversation and so on and so forth. But with that kind of out of the way, let's kind of dive into what this deck is even trying to do. Hashtag Death Touch. There we go. Did it. Done. All right.
The end.
Next deck. All right. Horrible, horrible, horrible ending. All right. If you guys don't know, Falthus, the Black Familiar, is giving our commanders, including itself, Death Touch and Menace. The reason this is so important is Togo is producing a rock that literally allows the creature to deal the damage. So this was a big deal, Puzzle. Let me ask you. I originally read Togo wrong. That was a big problem I had with Togo from the beginning. I was not under the impression that Togo rocks specifically said this creature is what deals the damage. I didn't know that until, a few months ago, to where I was like, wow, reading the card explains the card. What do you think? Like, how does this make you feel seeing this? And let's be honest, I spoke with Ankylosaur, David, about this, and this became even a thing due to Anna's Street Urchin. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was very intentionally created that way because all of these uncommon commanders came from the same set. They took into account, the Death Touch interaction with Falthus, the interaction with Malcolm just saying, Pirate throws a rock at a face, still makes a treasure.
I
Um,
thought I thought we were talking about good cards.
but yeah, I think it's obviously very notable that this allows the creature to deal the damage. This works with curiosity effects as well. If you're in green or blue with Togo. But yeah, very notable with effects like Death Touch and Toxic. Or not Toxic, I guess. Toxic has only damage to players. But
Infect, not
Infect, yeah.
toxic. Yes.
Actually, does Toxic count non-combat damage for going face still? I don't know. I'd have to reread Toxic.
One. I believe it's 1 point.
Well, it's
It
whatever
deals.
value it assigns. There's like Toxic 2 and stuff. I'm
Oh
just
yeah,
not
yeah,
sure
yeah.
if it works
It
with any damage or only combat damage. Um, but yeah, like it's a very cool interaction, and it's not something we see a lot on commons or uncommons. I think the only common equipment we have, there's one common equipment I think that lets you do this. I can't remember what it is, but it was it was in the D&D set, like Spared Dagger or something, because you would combo it with some death touch creature. I don't remember.
Ooh, you're far in the tank, my bro. That's oof,
But
far
yeah,
in the
not
tank.
an interaction we get at common and uncommon very often. So it's
Yeah.
very cool.
Yeah, and the deck kind of speaks for itself when you look at the deck list. Like just a lot of creatures with death, like natural death touch, right? So if you get rid of the Togo, you don't have to depend on your commanders, right? So you just get the rocks, then you have, this Phyrexia's Chosen, you have the Ruthless Ripper, you have these creatures that are able to just compensate for the lack of the commanders, or you just have the commanders, right? So the deck is attempting to be another control deck of the format and kind of fill that role that we've been missing in Pauper for quite a bit of time. And I'm hoping that this will take a grasp in the meta. And I'll be honest, that's why we're here. That's why we're talking about it. I have not heard a negative comment about this deck with people playtesting it. Everyone has, every single person that has been playtesting it, for the record, I haven't tested this deck personally myself, but I have had very, very reliable people testing this deck. And yes, all statements have been it is a go. And if you look at the top, we're on version 4. And once we get to version 6, that means it's no longer a version. We're going to say good to go, putting the stamp of this is good, move forward, and let's move on, right? So I'm very happy about seeing a deck like this. I think the most notable thing that you're going to agree with me here, Puzzle, and I think it needs to be said is this deck is demonstrating something we have not seen, excluding from Ernest Street. And that is, I'm putting the Monarch, I'm putting the initiative in play. Try to take it away from me, you will not. Good luck, go for it. I'm going to let you know. I'm not going to give it to you. Take it from me, you will suffer the consequences. I'm also saying that because I witnessed someone already play the deck and I watched the game and they essentially, their exact wordings were someone goes, "Hey, you have the initiative. I need a land. Can I attack you?" And they said, "No, I'm not willing to give it to anyone. You could try to get it from me, but I am not willing to give it to you. So come and get it, but I'm letting you know I'm not willing to give it away." And I was like, oof, big words. Big words.
Yeah.
So, what do you think about that, bro? How does that make you feel with even discussing that in the format? Because why are you going to give your opponent value to begin with, right?
I mean, I think funnily enough, this deck is probably almost, maybe not quite, but almost better. It is better in some ways at actually defending the initiative and Monarch than Aranus,
Ooh,
because we are
big words.
playing multiple death touch creatures, and if it comes down to it, we can block. If those death touch creatures have a rock on them, we can declare it as a blocker and throw the rock at a different creature before damage, and that creature itself gets a 2-for-1, whereas Aranus can only realistically 1-for-1 with their fodder. Um,
Hmm.
so, and obviously you still have to take the time to equip the rock and throw the rock and all make the rock in the first place. Obviously, there's a lot of synergy, blah blah blah. But theoretically, at an optimal engine level, Toga would be better at defending the Monarch and Initiative than Aranus.
Hmm.
Realistically, I don't think that's. probably going to happen as much. I think Aranus will just have more fodder and such in general than Togo does with rocks. But notably, Togo doesn't have to be in play once he's made his rocks, if you have other
Hmm.
Death Touchers like Aranus does. So it doesn't suffer in that way. So there are pluses and minuses. Also, colors are obviously a notable thing to talk about. But yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, I like
definitely.
not giving people the initiative for free. I think that's pretty
Yeah,
cool if you're gonna play it.
exactly, exactly. But let's move on. So let me take this one away from you, my man. So this is a deck that I I have to say I've been really impressed when I've seen it play. And I think me and you have already discussed this quite a few times. And we're going to just hit the commander right from the get go. And that's Amber. If you guys don't know Amber at this point, we have spoken about Amber. And I don't know how many times we need to talk about it. But one of the criteria that the both of us have, and I don't know how you don't have this yet, guys. If your commander says draw cards, it can't be horrible. Amber says draw cards in the command zone. Puzzle, good or bad?
I
Tell
mean,
me if
it's
it's
not
bad.
bad. It's not bad. I think Amber's a very solid option.
Yes, it draws cards, my guys. So please stop ignoring this commander. And by the way, if you want to ignore this commander, I'm telling you right now, look at this deck list. This is why it's here. Do not ignore this deck list. I think this deck is sauce, hands down, 200%. I watched this individual. So let's just start from the beginning. So this is a deck by A Sandwich. So I love the name. It's called Hot Wheels. Love it. Red and blue, bro. Love it. Fire. Hot Wheels. Sauce. But let me move on. Feywild Visitor. So I'm gonna just touch upon the one synergy that I have seen this deck perform time and time again, and that is Spell Stutter Sprite. I will tell you this is the best Spell Stutter Sprite deck in the format.
Oh
There's no
my
argument.
god.
There's no nothing. I've watched the Spell Stutter Sprite counter a Dargo. I was like, what the hell did my eyes just see? Did this actually happen? How did this just happen? And they were like, oh, uh, my background makes fairy dragons. And I was like, oh, that's weird. Okay, why are they fairy dragons? And then I watched the same person put Spellstutter Sprite in play and go, let me cast this breath weapon.
Yeah, I
And I
was
was
gonna say
like,
breath weapon is the interaction I knew because I remembered that they were dragons, but fairy has
yep,
never popped into my mind for spell study sprite.
yep,
That is
yep.
spicy.
Yeah. So it's so breath weapon was not cast. So this person did not cast breath weapon.
It's not in the
Breath weapon
deck.
got
I just
cast
checked.
against them. Yes, against them. This is the same game, and I was just like, okay, they just lost their board, and they're like, these are all dragons, and I was like, what am I watching here? You just countered a Dargo. Now another person is wrathing you, and nothing is affecting you. What is happening? I'm like, this deck has like the weirdest words, the weirdest text, the weirdest flavors of the format. And it's red and blue. Bro, tell me if you think, lie to me right now. Do you find is it to be? If not, are we
Yeah,
we're not
no,
hot
is it is
taking right
the
now. Is it
worst
is the
color
best?
combination. Oh,
Yes.
never
Oh
mind.
no, best color combination. Yes or no? Come on.
Yeah,
Let's
it's up there.
it's
It's
I
probably the best in my opinion. I
I
think
mean,
is it's pretty good. Um,
so how bad could this be? And let me hit you with this, bro. Look at the cards in this deck. Just review them for 4 seconds. Tell me if you believe the card quality in this deck is bad.
Well, we are on Jace's Phantasm. That one's a bit of a miss for me. But
Bro, do you not play 1 mana 1/1 flyers?
no. I play Gretchen. What? Why would I play a 1 mana 1/1 flyer? Um,
Breaking my heart because Spellstutter Sprite's gonna counter all your spells.
the Woo Scout is it's an interesting one. Not one I've seen, but it does make sense with Amber, I suppose. It's kind of a cool little effect.
Yeah,
And
it has so much cuteness. There's only one card I wish this deck had. Only one. I would play this exact deck excluding one card. It
what's
has
that?
Spike Tail Drakeling.
Oh, is that the board wipe one? No, I'm thinking
No,
Fang
Spike-Tail
Dragon.
Drakeling is the one that you sacrifice to counter a spell unless its controller pays 2. I would also play Spike-Tail Hatchling, which is a 2 mana one from Prophecy. It's a 2 mana 1/1 that sacrifices itself, counter a spell unless you pay 1. I would also play that one. Only because it was printed first. Yes, there's my hot take. I got to do one. You can't play the big brother without the little brother.
Yeah, I'm looking at the
Especially because
modern age sunken city right now.
uh,
That's a really cool card for this deck. I like that.
yes, dude, it's sauce, man. You actually get to pump. This is the only deck, to my knowledge, that has like a main deck. Like pump. Like, am I like crazy here?
Well, I mean, there's gut
Like this is the
leader.
crusade of this deck.
There's gut
okay,
leader,
okay.
but you know,
Well,
sure.
that's in the command zone. That's in the command zone. I'm talking about,
Uh,
No, dude, I really like this. Like this deck has some of the best cards in the format, right? We're talking about cards like Seal Removal, Aether Spellbomb, Witness Protection, right? Like a card I know is one of your favorites of the format, Impact Tremors, right? That's your favorite.
I love Impact Trippers.
Yeah, especially when you play against Dario, Impact Tremors is your favorite
super
card.
fun.
Yeah, you've said that. So
Yeah, I have.
like the cards in this deck are not to be ignored. Moonsnare Prototype, Springleaf Drum. Like this deck is just good cards. Like it's going to win because the deck is just good cards sometimes.
Yeah.
What do you think?
There's definitely a few cards that are just synergy pieces.
Yes,
the board
agree.
pumps, the 1/1 and unblockables, stuff like that. But in general, most of your cards, especially your instant and sorcery suite, are very, very solid cards. A lot of your creatures are just good stats for the cost. We're not doing any combos or anything. We're just drawing lots of cards, making a massive board state that doesn't die to one of the sweepers, and beaten face.
Yeah. I know it's not your cup of tea, but
Yeah, it's not my favorite, but it looks cool.
I mean, Swirling Sandstorm, I think is incredibly notable. Ras the board, excluding your fairies.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's this deck is good. I've seen this person play this deck, and it has impressed me time and time again. So, guys, if you don't know this deck, take the time, look at it, see it, check it out. You will not be, like, hands down, you will not be disappointed. So, but let's move on to our last deck, and an oldie but goodie, guys, and it's not even an oldie. This is newly printed, and why is this deck not? Why am I not seeing it? In fact, if I go try to get in a game right now, I want someone to play this against me. Play this. Play this. Puzzle. Tell me why I should be playing against this deck.
Well, I'll tell you why people aren't playing it. If you go ahead and take a look at the tagline of the deck, one of the most complicated combo decks in competitive Pauper Commander. This deck is not easy to play. I would say that I am a very, very experienced combo player at this point in pretty much every format I've played, and this deck is hard. It is not
Yeah.
easy. Um, Part of the reason is this deck's playing a lot of not great cards. I'm gonna be blatantly honest about the weaknesses of this deck up front. We're playing a lot of very low impact cards on their own because we need a lot of combo pieces. We're playing cards like Cathodian, which is just like in a vacuum a very bad card. Um, but
Well, let me ask you a question, bro. Let me ask you a question. Sorry to cut you off, but let me ask you a question. So some of these cards aren't as high impact, but I sadly I can't agree with that. And words of wisdom. I know this guy. I think his name's like Puzzle Box or some weird. He's got a weird name, but it's something to do with like jigsaws or something. Puzzle or something along those lines. Um, I would argue this is one of the best Suture Priest and or Standard Bearer decks of the entire format.
that is true. I
Do,
have heard that puzzle box guy say that before.
uh, um, if you can't, and I think we both can agree on this one, if you can't take a Standard Bearer off the battlefield, that will definitively stop certain decks like cold, right? There are certain like enchantment decks and things like that are trying to equip and do things of that nature that this will stop the end,
Yeah, this
right?
is definitely one of the coolest silver bullet decks in the format, in my opinion, because of for those of you who are audio listeners and don't know what Teshar does, he says whenever you cast a historic spell, which in our format is artifacts and sagas, I don't think we have any mono white common legendaries or colorless. Um, Whenever you cast a historic spell, return target creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So we're able to reanimate our Suture Priest and our Kami of the False Hope and our Oriok replica and all of these really disruptive pieces, Suture Priest, Standard Bearer, just by casting an artifact. Which gets really oppressive for a lot of decks. Um, Unfortunately, it's not great against blue combo decks that can just bounce our pieces. But any deck that's just trying to remove our piece before they do their thing, we can just bring it back if we have a flash artifact or anything of that sort, which is really cool. Also, this deck has so many combo lines that you are never at risk of losing all of your combo lines because your graveyard gets exiled. Grave Hate does screw over this deck completely. It's extremely commander reliant and very grave reliant. But you're never going to be like, oh, I lost my combo piece. I guess the game is over. You can combo in so many different ways, and you can get most of your combo pieces back anyways from the graveyard. So it's a very
Yeah.
resilient deck. It's got a great long game. It plays 42 creatures, so you can block all day. Yeah.
Do you think people should play this deck more often? Yes or no?
If you are willing to put in the time to learn a difficult combo deck, then you should pick this deck up. I think it's rewarding. I think it's very fun. It's not quite top of the meta, but I think it's getting there.
Yes.
I think if we get a couple more pieces, like another actual sack outlet that progresses your game state, like another sacrifice outlet that deals damage or makes mana, things of that nature, this deck will jump in playability significantly. It's getting there slowly but surely. It just needs a couple more pieces.
Yeah,
Oh,
I agree.
also, this deck can win at instant speed. This is one of the few combo decks that can actually combo off and win at instant speed, which helps heighten the ceiling of this deck significantly
Well,
and
I
give you a
mean,
reason to play it.
yes, right. That puts it in the S tier. Now, I'm not saying this is an S tier, right? But the S tier commanders that we have spoken about in the past, right? Like Abdel and Gretchen, both could win at instant speed, right? That really puts it way up there, right? Like that is a big, big thing,
Yeah,
in my opinion.
it's not like game defining if if your commander can win at instant speed, it's automatically good. Not necessarily, depending on how difficult it is. And the winning at instant speed line in this deck is kind of wishy washy. But the fact that it can do it means that it can win games that it has absolutely no right winning by just comboing off on top of counter spell war, right? Um,
Correct.
so
Very much so.
it's definitely a strong option to consider.
Yeah. No, dude, I agree. And I think that's why we've been here and talking about this the whole time, right? Like we're talking about these decks that guys play these decks. And I think some of these decks, which you kind of already said it, right? Just give us one more or two more cards. These decks will definitively succeed in the meta. And I'm really excited about these. And I hope they start even seeing more play so we could see these people start to succeed with them and things of that nature. So,
For sure. Definitely decks that we would love to see more of from you guys.
yes, very
Yeah.
much so. But on that note, um, yeah, I mean, always, very much so. Puzzle, thank you so much with being here with me today, my bro. And
Absolutely.
anything else you'd like to talk about, Teshar, or are you good to take us on home, my bro?
I think that covers it, so I'll go ahead and close us out here. Thank you all for watching today. Be sure to leave a comment down below. Let us know what your pick is for the next up and coming meta deck that's going to just crush everyone. Be sure to leave a like while you're down there and letting us know. Subscribe if you haven't already. There will be deck lists posted in the description if you want to check out any of these decks. And we will see you all next time.